We chose the name To 1,000 Generations because of the promises of the Bible that God will be merciful to 1,000 generations of those who love Him and who keep His commandments. There is a sense in which 7 years ago, a group of us came together, a very small group, and said, we're risking something, we're going to be first generation people. And you think there can only be one first generation, but in fact, this will probably, in the eyes of many people, be the even more prominent first generation of our church. If you're going to talk about those who are blessing generations yet to come, if you're going to talk about who it is who was the first generation of this church, you can talk about those who were the founders, those who had the dream 7 years ago, 8 years ago, those who were involved in the planning and saying, what denomination should we be? Are we Baptist? Are we Presbyterian? We know we're Reformed. We know these things. But in reality, if we are faithful to God, and if God is pleased to make this church be what we trust it will be for generations to come, a place where people are led to know the Lord, a place of revival and revitalization for all of Toledo and beyond, a place where pastors are trained and where churches are founded from. If God is pleased to do that, I believe this generation of people, the ones who are going to be at the heart of the building of this building, will be seen as the first generation. It does seem like a strange time to begin a building campaign in the midst of the meltdown economically that we're seeing around us. I'm told that the unemployment rate in Toledo right now is 14%. Within our church, I think it's about 3 to 4% right now. God's been gracious to us as a church. That's not why the campaign is being done now. It's a sign of God's goodness to us in the midst of it. It also affects the cost side of things. And we've been told by Mike Bowles, our builder, our contractor, and by a number of other people that this is a time of historic low prices for building. We face real needs, I mean, from the lack of Sunday school room to the packed nature of Sunday evening to the inability to hold weekday events and weeknight events. And so the need is here now, and there is at this time an exceptionally low cost environment for the building of a building. Back when this land was purchased 4 or 5 years ago, when it was being envisioned and the beginnings of the purchase process were underway, the idea was we need land to build on, but there were several elders who were saying we need a lot of land to build on because we believe this church has a future, and they were saying we want the minimum. I had been at a church that had 2.5 acres. That had been a little small, but I was willing to think about 6 or 7. But we had elders who were saying, well, we need 10. We need 20 acres. This is it. We want it to be on a prime corner. We want it to be visible. And by God's grace, they achieved that. They found a corner. They found it at low price. It's not been built out to yet, but there are plans to build out there. And the building of this building is a sign that we believe, even in the midst of what appears, not only are we in the midst of a market meltdown, far more worrisome to us as Christians is the moral meltdown of our nation. And in the midst of a time of moral decay, and a time when many Christians are thinking the future looks bleak for Christianity in America, we think it's the right time to be building a church that looks to the future. It's a little bit like Jeremiah as he warns the people that they're going into exile, of him making certain that he buys land in Jerusalem. God tells him, buy land in Jerusalem because there will be a return for the exiles. We don't know what God's going to do in America, but our faith is expressed by this building project, that God is going to cause His church to be victorious, not just in the end, and not just in other regions of the world, but here, and with our children. I believe that the purpose of the campaign is to gather us together towards a goal. The goal is to make all of us consider why we are moving towards the building of a church. And I think all these events are, in a sense, they are the means by which we're brought to one mind and saying, yes, this is a worthy goal. Yes, this is what we are committed to, and we believe that God would have us do this. God is not a God who says, I want your spiritual faithfulness, and I want your spiritual gifts, but I don't care about your physical lot. I don't care about what you are physically, and I don't give to you or expect from you physically. God is a God who has a city. And it's a city on a hill, and he wants its light to shine. And that city has to have a location, has to have land. And at this point, if this church is going to be something that's multi-generational in its impact, if it's going to be a place where our grandchildren and our great-grandchildren look to and say, I am part of this, then it needs to have a location. This is our future. The church is the family of God. It is the one thing that supersedes even the human family. We're told that in heaven there will be no giving or taking in marriage. In a sense, the marriage structure, the family structure of humanity is eclipsed by the marriage and family structure of heaven. And that's Christ and his bride, the Father and his children. And so for that reason, we say the foremost priority of my life, and I'm not saying this simply as a pastor, I'm saying this as a Christian man, the foremost priority of my life is my involvement in the bride of Christ. And it's true not just of pastors, it's true of everyone in the church. This is the one institution on earth that will be there in full power, in all its splendor in heaven. And so we want everyone in this church committed to this. When I go out to the property, I've walked it once now, and I prayed. I can't say that it was powerful spiritually or emotionally, because right now it's dirt, it's windswept dirt. But I do believe that as we start building there, it's going to be meaningful to us in a way that right now it's just the promise of something. I look at the land and I think, boy, this is a lot of land. I look at the Central Avenue frontage and I realize that the plan calls for there to be a retention pond up there, and I think, boy, this is going to look pretty. More importantly, perhaps, I look at the back and I see all the land that's going to be behind the building. And I know that on the plans it calls for there to be a field back there. And I think this is what I want. It's not just the building, and it's not the prettiness of it. It's the idea that there's going to be a softball field, and that our families are going to hang out there, and maybe a picnic pavilion, and they're going to hang out there, and they're going to have fun there, and it's going to be a place for this family to enjoy life together. In the same way that my home is a place for this human physical family to enjoy life together. I view it as being the place of a home. I don't think you can really feel emotionally tied to something until it's become your home. And this land isn't our home yet. But I think in short order, it's going to become precious to us. The points I want to make are that the church is victorious in this world. Do you understand what I'm saying? We must build, not as those who say, "Oh, we're gonna evaporate out of here." We must expect victory and power in faith in this life as much as Paul did, thinking that he could, he's before Festus and Agrippa, and he's the prisoner, and they're the kings. And they say, "Do you think you can convert us in such a short order?" This is the church. Yeah. "Do you really think you can take over the world in 10 minutes? Yeah, we do. Mm-hmm. So this is the kind of thing that and so building on land out there, building a big building, all these things are part of this.